Well, Danny Townsend, we did promise that we would hold a Q&A with you following today's decision. We've collated some of the best questions that we've received from fans across Instagram, Twitter and Facebook, and we're going to put them to you now.
Great.
Okay, question number one. Chris Vincent from Instagram asks, what was the main reason behind this decision and is it purely based on money?
Look, it's certainly not all about money, but the money's helpful. You know, we're a game that needs to continue to invest in itself. We're at a different stage of our cycle compared to some of the other codes, so that was certainly important for us to ensure that when we had a government wanting to invest money in our sport, that we were able to take that forward. I think for us though, this is as much about us growing up as a game, being able to be considered as an event worthy of investing money in and equally putting ourselves onto that national sports calendar, and that's what this does.
Okay, Aaron Cam on Twitter. How was this decided upon by the APL?
Look, we've obviously been working on this for 12 months. We've been dealing with different states and equally with New South Wales government for the longest time. And we looked at all the pros and cons. We did a lot of work on it. It wasn't a decision we made overnight. And we understood there was going to be initial backlash from fans from outside of New South Wales and some from inside New South Wales who believe in the old model. But I think, you know, it's easy for us in roles like mine to sit back and take easy decisions and just keep things the same. Our game needs to evolve. We need to create tradition, and this was part of that.
Mitch Wiley from Instagram asks, do you think casual fans will attend the grand finals if it's two non-New South Wales based teams competing?
I think the other sports in the country have proven that happens. You know, if they make a big enough event out of their week, you know, we've made it clear that this is not just about the grand final itself. It's about a celebration of football. We'll be making other announcements in the new year around what that week will mean and why every football fan in the country, whether they live in Sydney as a casual or whether they're travelling to support their team, will want to be here in the first week of June.
Jack on Twitter, why is the deal only for 3 years? Will the decision change if it doesn't work?
Look, I think with all decisions, you've got to be humble around the decisions you make and test and learn. We could have had an option to go longer, to be honest. There was an opportunity for a much longer deal, and we thought 3 years is the right amount of time to adjust people's thinking, to invest behind the event to make sure it works. And if it doesn't, then you pivot and you make other decisions.
3022.fc on Instagram. How does this decision benefit the league in its current state of seeking growth?
Look, I think we need to be taking ourselves seriously. We need to be proud of what we're creating. We've seen with the recent Socceroos performances and having 21 of our players come through the A-League to do such a great job in Qatar. You know, our game is hugely popular at the grassroots. We need other reasons for fans to connect with us, and if we can put on a great event in one of the best cities in the country, then that's going to attract people to support our game. It might be their first experience in the A-League as a casual coming to an A-League grand final. So we want to make sure we make our game accessible.
Jordan asks on Twitter, do you think the grand final being in Sydney limits and hinders the potential for local areas to get into the league if their local team's grand final is in another state?
Look, I don't think so. You know, of course, those home grand finals that other states have had over the years have been fantastic, and I've been to many of them myself. But I think there's enough opportunity for great football across the 26 rounds for fans to come out and support their team. There's also the final series, the home and away semi-finals, we think are going to be boosted by this decision, and getting the local fans out to support their team in that last step before reaching the grand final of neutral venue, we think will be great.
Cameron Vallis on Instagram asks, what discounts or packages will fans outside of New South Wales get if our club reaches the grand final?
That's a big focus for us now that we've made this decision, is sitting down with the club, sitting down with our sponsors, our travel partners to ensure that it's accessible and affordable. You know, we want to make sure our game prides itself on inclusivity, so being able to ensure that fans can travel and travel cost effectively, importantly have access to ticketing, which we're going to protect by having every member being able to get a ticket if their team's in it. So we certainly will work hard over the next 6 months to ensure that's the case.
Ethan, again on Twitter, what happens if both teams are not from Sydney? What incentive is there to travel?
It'll be the events we put around the grand final. Like I said, I can't go into too much detail now, but you can probably guess some of the things that we've done in the past that have been very successful in luring travelling support, and I think those things are in plans, and we'd like to announce something early in the new year. But we'd like to think there's not just 1, 2, 3, but 6, 7, 8 events that go on in the week of the grand final that give fans a reason to travel.
Dougie Fuller on Instagram, how will the funds from this deal be spent and then spread across the clubs in the league?
Yeah, look, as you know, the APL is an organisation owned by its clubs, and all of the money we generate out of the commercial game goes back into those clubs. We've spent $50 million on youth development over the last 7 years as clubs, and that's been privately funded. We need to continue to drive that investment, and doing commercial deals like this and building an event experience that's going to allow more sponsors, more media attention, ways in which we can drive more income will allow us to reinvest and make our product better week in, week out.
Neil Sherwin on Twitter, were all states given the opportunity to bid for the games?
Yeah, we had conversation. We didn't run a formal process, so we certainly did talk to other states to see what their appetite might be for something like this, but it was clear that New South Wales were ahead of the rest. They've also got the infrastructure, the rectangular, which is very important, rectangular infrastructure to support the various different marquee events that we want to bring to the city.
And finally, Jods on Twitter, what happens to the minor premier's current advantage? Will that still stand in some way?
Yeah, like always, the highest ranked home team will be the home team for the grand final. Obviously, that's difficult if you're not from Sydney, but at the same time, we'll respect the usual options the home team has around changing rooms and ends of the field for actives and all those things. You know, we want to preserve as much of that tradition as we can as we build a new tradition in the game.